Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Resilience plus Rise, where we explore the stories of extraordinary individuals who have turned life's challenges into powerful opportunities for growth and impact. Every week, I try to shine a light on those who inspire others with their resilience, innovation, and unwavering drive to make a difference. This podcast is based on my upcoming book, Resilience plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash the Marathon of Your Life Mindset. It's supposed to be coming out early 2025. In this podcast, we talk about it's a space where powerful stories are shared, where adversity transforms into strength and ordinary life becomes extraordinary inspiration. Each week, I sit out with remarkable individuals to explore the moments that define them, hoping, hope, and motivation to the listeners. My name is Scaria. I'm a coach, I'm an ultra marathoner, and a relentless believer that the next powerful chapter for you is beginning or it may be already going on. Podcast allows us to shatter limits, rewrite a narrative, and rise. Not despite the struggle, but because of it. So, 2024 has come to an end. 2025 should be beginning. A lot of us, we talk about growth, our own growth. But what about the world we are living in? What about the world to make it more sustainable? Not only for us, but so that the generation future can be thankful. Today, I am thrilled to welcome not one, but two exceptional guests. Some of you all would have met the amazing Jess Toft, the author of Miss Jess VR or the creator of the virtual reality, who is a passionate educator. She talks about inclusive education. She's an advocate for self autonomy. For her, it is about the sustenance, about what we can do further. On the other side, we got Nathan Hardage. What can I talk about Nathan? He's the CEO of Hitchhiker and Access. He loves to talk about environment. He drives sustainability. He talks about the two T's, technology and transportation. He's passionate about creating a cleaner environment, reshaping transportation through sustainable and innovative solution. So, without much delay, let's jump into and say welcome to Jess and Nathan.
Thank
I
you.
hope you all guys are doing great. So, question, Jess,
Yeah,
how are you doing today?
I'm great. I got to talk to you for like the last half an hour, and it was wonderful. Thank
It's
you.
great talking to you. And Nathan, welcome to the podcast. So, as for me, it is ladies first. Jess, when you talk about advocacy, you talk about education, you talk about the human spirit. Question which comes up is what drove you to this point?
Well, I mean that's a long story. A lot of things. I can say I think it tipped off probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
Um, I was in my career in early childhood. I was directing child care centers, and I was great at it. I loved it. I loved all the families. I loved all the kids. I loved all my staff. But I just got to a point where there wasn't, what was I going to do? Just replicate that? And it didn't seem big enough. It didn't seem it didn't excite me. So then I developed a substitute teaching company for that company. And I was like, well, this was a problem before because it's so hard to staff childhood centers because there's just not enough people doing it that are qualified. And then with ratio and all the things, and they don't pay them enough. So that I solved a problem. But then where do I go from there? I'm doing all of this, and then I'm replaceable. Like they can plug somebody else in one day, and you can't really trust people. And I was kind of coming to find that you really couldn't trust people, which is fine, but you have to be aware so that you aren't blindsided when you realize it. So I kind of I started this new journey to figure out what I was going to do, but I was going to do it myself on my own terms and how it should be done in my mind and not have to be told otherwise. So I went down that road and I really learned who was around me. And I went through a journey of healing and growing. And then it turned into Miss Jess VR about a year and a half ago, I think now, which just went up like there. So it was a clear path from there, and that's how I'm here.
Beautiful. Nathan, so when I looked into uh, to know a little more about you, there was a beautiful statement that I read and which resonated me quite deeply because that was kind of my past. It is my work is rooted in the belief that technology can drive a positive environmental change and committed to bringing that vision to life. The reason it resonated was um, more than a decade back, I was working for a mining industry, mining diamonds. And of course, the company believed in sustainability because after the digging, etc., what was promised was they would put back the earth or make it into a lake, which would be moved out. But then still, we were digging deep into the earth and pulling it out, and the sustainability. There was a lot of. I had seen people who were working with the environment, making it to be more sustainable in today's world when we are talking about especially technology and the transportation, wherein we are talking about the EV batteries and things like that, wherein we still need the from the environment to pull out elements, etc. We are working against the nature in its own way. It's not that the EVs will, as I would say, run on love and fresh air. There has to be something more to that. So, tell me about your journey. What made you what or the work that you're doing as an advocate, specifically when you're talking about the two T's, technology and transportation. And here, let me just take a pause, just in case you caught any question that comes out which says that, okay, let me also ask. Please feel free because this is not just going to be a spotlight on me, but all three of us. So, Nathan, the spotlight is on you.
Thank you. I think about when we talk about technology and we talk about sustainability, environmental consciousness, we don't really think about where the voice comes from. And what I mean by that is, growing up poor and being in environments where people don't have a voice about sustainability and environmental consciousness, understanding how to maneuver their environments, the food, the air quality, things like that. You know, poor people, they get scraps in a sense, and they get a lot of they're in communities where they can't do anything about the air quality. And so being able to grow up in those places and seeing people get sick and there not being any explanation for why, understanding that the water quality is far below other communities. Sometimes it is one of those things where your heart tries to match your ability of change. Seeing people that don't have to experience the same type of lifestyles as others. For
Hmm.
me, it was more of a mission of equality when it comes to the earth. The earth belongs to all of us, and when you start thinking about it, you know, why not be able to express that and say, hey, we should be drinking the same type of water as people that have money to drink, or we should be eating the same types of foods as people that can afford to eat those foods. When we talk about organic eating, it's so expensive, but people in bad communities, they eat the bad parts of the pig or the bad parts of the cow. When we start talking about eating meat, but even with the vegetables, right? A lot of the vegetables that are grown, the fertilizers and the different types of chemicals, organic stuff, it comes from the earth and goes back to the earth. There's less techniques of fertilization. When you start talking about things that you get at the grocery store, or the things that even the government's cause to try and help poor people with Medicaid and SNAP benefits and things like that, those are still situations where they have to go to a grocery store and in order to utilize those benefits, it costs a lot less to do that non-organic than it does organic. And so seeing and experiencing family members, myself, different people go through different types of sickness because of environmental issues, air quality. Where I grew up, there was a lot of peanut dust in the air a lot. And I don't know if you know what that is, but I come from a place where it's called the peanut capital of the world. It's really, in a sense, a lot of planning and a lot of agriculture,
Okay.
but but there's also a lot of chemicals, and that gets into the water, but no one talks about it, or a lot of chemicals that gets into the food, but no one really talks about it because a lot of the environmental issues come from it's really filtered its way into social class, racism. I mean, all these things it's all an ecosystem, right? When we start talking about the way the ecosystem works, uh, even that becomes its own ecosystem. I had a little chance and opportunity to help uh, India a couple of years ago, and when I was there, they do everything from this lake, from the ocean, right? They bury their dead, they get their water, they utilize the water to drink. There's a lot of things that they utilize, but pollution is much like it is here. In that place, it's high. And we start talking about pollution, we're not just talking about taking a bottle and throwing it into the water. We're talking about being able to reuse that water, being able to reuse the food. Some of the consumables that we use, you can never use again. And so being able to create sustainable choices, sustainable opportunities, sustainable decisions, those are big keys to what lies in the future. If we want a future, right? If we want a future for our kids, if we want a future for our families, then we just got to do different. And we know better. So when you know better, you do better, right? So just being able to really uh, educate people and talk about that, and also transition that into business. What use is there to have businesses if we're destroying the earth, or if we are eliminating where we're going to be 10 years from now? So every business I try to get involved with, or the things I try to do, I really want to make sure that there's a future not only for my business but for yours. I want to make sure there's a future for the children. I mean, we live 100 years maybe, right? And some of us may only see 70
Mhm.
or 50 of that, but what if I said to you that if we can actually become an ecosystem as people and really work together to not only share what we have, the foods, the earth, transportation, all these things eliminate waste. They eliminate overuse. And being able to do that, excuse me, as people, we can live a lot longer. We want to talk about, having a short lifespan. We have one of the shortest lifespans of any mammal. When I say one of the shortest, when you talk about whales, whales live up to 200 years, you know, but at the same time, look at what they eat. They're in the ocean, they're in their natural habitat, and they are eating things that are normal for them. It's organic, right?
Mhm.
Not polluted. Um, when you look at the natural lifespan of who we are and the different types of cancers and diseases that keep arising, they just get worse and worse. And it's because of the simple fact that just as we evolve, so does disease, so does
True.
pollution, so does cancer. And so when we start thinking about how can we eliminate it, well, one person's not going to solve that. It has to be a team, and it has to be an accumulation of an ecosystem of that team that comes together and say, hey, you know what? We're going to make some hard decisions, but we're going to make those decisions. And everybody's so afraid now to make those decisions because of political backlash or economic status. But in the end, none of that's going to matter if we don't have a platform to make that decision on. So,
So true.
it's really, yeah.
So true. Actually, that comes to the next point. Just at some point of time, I think so. In one of our conversation, you also had, sorry, mentioned about the people ecosystem, people all coming together and working towards a better good. So, when you just heard about Nathan, what are the thoughts or what are the things that is already going on for Miss PR world, or how we are going to spear, especially with the Marine World Foundation, wherein I know that you all are striving towards the betterment of humanity.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
what do you want to
well,
say?
yeah, I mean, that's what the Marine Foundation is. It's a rising up of individuals that are on the same path to creating a better world, to look at all of these things that we can do that are small in the big picture, but when we're all doing them, we all rise up together. And it's Nathan, it's you, it's the people, it's just the natural energies of us all are, I think there's just more of us kind of coming to the same point in their lives. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take the masses to fix it. We all broke it down slowly over time, all of us, and and now we get to fix it. When you do something wrong, you make it better, and it's what we're doing.
To second that, Jess, a lot of people have come and gone. Some people were more, and we're talking about, we can talk about Americans, but sometimes we become so focused on being comfortable that we just become passive and we become more a part of the problem than we do the solution. And so some of the people that created some of the problem, they're not here anymore. They've passed on and moved on. But if you believe anything about you know energy, even when we die, we go back to the earth or we go somewhere. Um, but if there's no earth to go back to, then where are we going to go?
Right.
So at the end of the day, it really comes down to really just like she said, working together and really just sometimes if you're spending all the time talking, you're not listening. And sometimes the best, opportunities to listen is by just being quiet and really absorbing the world around you. Sometimes just get in your car and and enjoy the quiet, but take a drive around your community and check out your community and just listen to it. Listen to it. You don't have to talk to anybody to listen. So anyway, just being a good steward of your community. Start there, and then start reaching out to organizations that are trying to make a difference and trying to become a part of the solution. And then yeah, I mean it's a cumulative effort that we all have to share. It's a burden, but it's also a reward if we can make it happen.
Right. Everybody gets to achieve something
Something, yeah.
in the process. And when you achieve things, you naturally elevate more. So we just keep doing that and we're going up, up and away.
Yeah.
Actually, that gets me to the next question is that 2025 is here already, or depending on how we are looking at it. What are the common elements or common threads that I've heard from both of y'all is about the humanity? So, putting the ball in your court, Jess, is that what are the dreams for when you look back at 2025? What do you see from the education point of view, from the advocacy point of view, self advocacy point of view, for humanity point of view? What do you believe can make the world a better place? The dreams, the aspiration, the your daughters, when they're going to be learning from you, seeing from you, what is the benchmark that you would be giving them to strive towards?
Well, I would say just to be ourselves and to do the right thing and to trust that it will all work out, because it's not going to be easy. It goes against the grain of society to just be yourself and trust that it will get better when everyone's pushing against you, going the other way. So I think the more of us that kind of become more present, like Nathan said, and realize that there's more than just us, while also at the same token looking to see how we can become better and make it better around us. I think that it will help the tides move more quickly. It will help our children trust that it's okay for them to do the same, because they're watching us, and they're learning from who we are. They're learning from our experiences. They're learning from what we tell them. We have to be honest. We have to talk to our children with respect and stop gaslighting them. So, it's like once we can look at ourselves and realize like, hey, I could do this better, then our kids, we're going to talk to them like that, and they're going to realize, hey, I could do this better, because they're a reflection of us, and we need to help them become better too, so that we don't end up with a worse future. So to just keep setting good examples wherever we can, to be better humans, to be better neighbors, and show our kids that it's safe to do it too.
Okay. And Nathan, a future where technology and sustainability go hand in hand. What are your dreams for 2025?
Someone asked me the other day how I felt about autonomous vehicles.
Okay, beautiful. Okay.
Was it me?
I don't know. Somebody, no, someone asked me based on what I do with my own work. But I think that technology is an amazing thing. It's innovative, it's new, it's fun. When the iPhone first came out, We all used it, we loved it, and then it just was just another phone over time. But it takes me back to remembering when I was in high school or middle school. You would write somebody a letter and you didn't get a response until the next day. Or, you know, and don't get me wrong, the only thing the phone did was speed it up. It sped up the opportunity to hear back from your friends or whatever faster. It connected you. But what good is technology? What makes the iPhone so unique is that it not only speeds it up and connects you, but it also gives you that human experience, especially if you're able to FaceTime or you're able to, it's about connection, right? And so the hard part for me is that if we rely too much on technology, then we let each other off the hook in regards to where we need to be in the future and what we're trying to save in the future. Technology can't do it all. We have to still be accountable to the earth and to our environment, to our communities. And so when you start thinking about it, autonomous cars, right? It's supposed to be where someone can actually get in a car and it takes you places without a driver. But in actuality, what message are we sending if we use autonomous cars? Do I think they have a place? And absolutely, they have a place. But I also think the human element has to be there as well. Uh, you don't want to have a car that's autonomous without a person because of the simple fact that people are what make the ecosystem. We're a very important part of the chain. And if you take us out of the chain and you replace that with just technology, then you're just creating another computer versus something that lives and breathes and thinks. Yeah, technology can learn and adapt to do that, but it can't feel. And at the end of the day, with anything that we do, whether it's saving the earth, whether it's feeding the homeless, whatever it is, technology is good at measuring the metrics of it, but it's not good at understanding who to help and why you're helping them, if that makes sense. The feeding the hungry, for instance, not, I mean, everybody in this world becomes hungry at some point. Technology is going to measure that. But who is hungry and needs to eat right now? Who is going to be hungry next year and needs to eat? Meaning, is that same person going to be hungry over and over and over and over again? Common sense says that it's going to take more than technology to fill that need. Technology can only give us the metric of what and who and where, but it can't help us feel why. It can't help us fill the void of why we're doing this, or it doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a soul. And so you still need that connection.
Yeah.
Here, beautifully said, Nathan. But what just comes in my mind is the Gen A, the current generation. We are past the Gen Z, but now the Generation A comes up. Okay, wherein technology is their evidence, that is their identity, that's who they reflect themselves to be in. Any place you're working in, walking, go across the traffic lights, people are just get into the buses, get into a transportation, get into the elevators, anywhere. They're already having the crook in the neck, building up to that, where people
Absolutely.
are so dependent. So, as you mentioned, yes, technology can be a boon or it can be a bane. And when we look at it, it's depending on how we are looking out at this particular point. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about that letter, right? We thrive on that human connection as people. That generation, when you look at that generation, they're missing a whole almost 6 years of human connection because they didn't really go to school. When COVID happened,
Yep.
they kind of uh, they went into, in a sense, hiding. You know, they went home and they learned from home, which wasn't good because they needed, they depended so much on the computer and the phone. There wasn't necessarily a physical presence of a teacher or whatever. So now, fast forward 10 years from now. Um, what you just said is so vital, but so true. They do have more crooks in their necks, and they are codependent. They're codependent on technology so much that it's become a real person to them. And one day they're going to need that person, that piece of technology to feel, to tell them and direct them with a feeling, an emotion. And the difference is that technology may be able to replicate emotions, duplicate it, but it can't create it. It can't give you love. It can replicate how love looks. It can't give you satisfaction. It can replicate satisfaction. Remember, it's a metric, right? It creates things based on a metric. It learns based on a metric, but it can't create. And so the individual is going to need something and to learn and understand what it means to feel authentically, something that's an authentic feeling that's been created based on interaction. And so 10 years from now, we may have a whole generation of kids that are missing. We may have a whole generation of missing and this is what I mean by, if we don't do something now, then it's already setting itself up for what's next to come. And that is a generation that is so dependent on technology that technology becomes the baby, or technology becomes the husband, or technology becomes the wife, or technology becomes the employees. I mean, that's what we're saying if we're going to utilize autonomous cars. And so we will, at that point, not care about the environment. Because remember, the environment thrives off of people. We're a
True.
part of an ecosystem where bees come and pollinate plants, and we eat those plants based on the pollination and the nutrients. But machines, technology doesn't need pollination. It thrives on, you can have a world of that's missing plants and animals and bees, and technology will survive that. But who wants to be in that world?
True. Actually, just being mindful of time. Jess, what's your thoughts on that? What Nathan just mentioned? Because we can have hours and hours of discussion on that particular thing. But for you being strong advocacy about human element and inclusiveness, what's your thoughts about this? What he just mentioned.
Well, that's a lot, but definitely that generation that stayed home and lost all of those chances for interaction and connections outside of their own home. It's like someone who lives their whole life and doesn't travel. They only know what they see. And we all turned out a lot of us got better, but we went through some stuff. A lot of us had to internalize and process, and then the people that were home with their others who they realized were not the right people for them, and their children are all there throughout all of this. And I mean, in a way, the technology was a blessing for a lot of them, I'm sure, because of all the trauma that was occurring at home. But I think that now we get to use technology to help fix it. The possibilities of teaching empathy through a virtual reality to put people in the experience where they gain the understanding right then and there, to teach children feelings, to utilize technology to teach children with autism how to interact with other children, because they can't do it. They don't know how. I mean, I walk around with them in a school all day, helping them navigate these situations where they would be inflicted with trauma left and right because of the reactions that they will get from these other students if I'm not there, because they're in their own world and their world makes sense to them. And it should, because yours makes sense to you and yours makes sense to you. And that's our reality, is our reality. So we can use these tools to help our kids get back into the world's reality and to make it a more unified reality where everyone is accepted regardless of their reality. But we learn to treat each other with respect in a way that's acceptable to everyone, in a way that doesn't hurt and harm. But we also work on ourselves so that we don't have triggers left and right that don't actually make any logical sense at all. So technology helps us balance that logical, okay, this clearly is how it should be, versus this is how it's for him, this is how it is for her, this is how it is for her. Okay, let's all just meet in the middle here and figure out what, at the minimum, bare minimum, are we all okay with? And then let's rebuild from there and find some new realities and then make them happen.
Guys, just being mindful of time, I don't want to take more of your time, but one of the key element what I heard from both you, Nathan, even though you're an advocate of technology and transportation, you're an advocate of education, etc. But one of the common threads over here was humanness. And guys, whoever is listening to this particular element, if you all can keep that in mind going forward this year, is being human, being kind to one another, being knowing that we are all in this together. That could create a difference, that could create a more beautiful world, that could make the generations to come be thankful to you all guys, because we created those scenes of being thankful. So with this, any last words, Jess and Nathan? I'm just mindful of the time, but is there anything else that you would like to just say as a parting word?
I think that it can also create better technology. And what I mean by that is that what we forget sometimes is that we want to be the creator of the technology and to control it. But how are we to ever understand what it is and what it is to accomplish if we don't nurture it? Like a flower, you pour water on a flower, you hope it blooms into a really nice flower. Technology is different, you know. It can be in the wrong hands useful to your enemies. It can be in the wrong hands. People utilize it to steal money. They utilize it to do all types of things, right? And the reason those things happen is because we're not good stewards of it. When we're good stewards of technology, then we can make it useful enough to create a better world. But it shouldn't be the world. It shouldn't be we're using it as a tool, not as a crutch. You know, we use technology as a crutch so much that eventually someone's going to create a technology that supersedes every piece of technology, that
True.
controls every bit of technology, and they may control us, you know?
That's true. That's so true, Nathan. And it actually comes to what just mentioned when she created Miss VR Empathy. Okay, she used that as a tool to create a strong, forgive me for the using word crutch, but something that the kids can be more stronger in what they are doing.
Love it.
And that's where, I mean, for me, I'm fortunate to have a friend like Jess. And it's these are the things which, yes, there's good things, as I say, a boon or a bane. It depends on how we are using it. And Jess, any last words from you?
Well, I mean, just thank you. You guys are amazing, and it feels good to be around people that you have similar dreams and ambitions with, that will help paint a better future and world. And I'm grateful for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. With this, I'll
Thank you.
just stop the recording. Thank you. Just